the Doing the Orden podcast is brought to you by Baldwin Park Pizza Company. Baldwin Park Pizza Company has been serving Joey's original recipe for over 20 years. It's voted #1 pizza in San Gabriel Valley 6 years running. Come visit or get delivery.
Come down to the Wrestling Guy store. Find your favorite WWE action figures and favorite WWE Superstars t-shirts. We also host meet and greets where you can meet some of your favorite wrestlers. The Wrestling Guy store is located at 6085 State Street, Huntington Park, California. Or you can follow us online at our website, thewrestlingguystore.com, or on social media, such as Instagram, at The Wrestling Guy Store.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Doing Your Own podcast. And today I have a very special guest, and it is Cody Rhodes. So
hello, and it's a long time coming. I think I promised you I would do this podcast like 2 years ago, and now we're finally making it happen. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for calling in. Okay, so Cody, being the son of one of the greatest pro wrestlers of all time, was there ever any big pressure for you to join the business?
No. I think the pressure was more to do something else because this is so, easy in terms of it's so easy to love. And I think early on I fell in love with wrestling, and my dad knew I had fallen in love with wrestling. So there was more pressure to hopefully he falls in love with something else. But I never really did, vocation-wise. So, no, there was more pressure not to.
Okay, so when you first started training, who were your trainers?
So I had kind of a series of trainers. My dad gave me the really rudimentary basics. He taught me how to land safely. He actually gave me a hip toss, and he gave me a body slam. And other than that, we never did anything physical again. And then as I fast forward past my folk style career in amateur wrestling, my first real trainers were Al Snow, Danny Davis, and Robert Gibson.
Okay, so in your first match, who was your opponent?
Oh, that's a very good question. My first match was with a guy named Pat Buck, who is happens to be MJF's trainer. Small world. Pat Buck, who now runs Create a Pro and Wrestle Pro. He was my first opponent in OVW, and everyone assumed because I was related to Dusty that I was ready, but you're never really ready for that first match, and he was really good about guiding me through it and teaching me, and I was unsuccessful like all of us. I lost my first match, but I would end up wrestling Pat when I hit the independent scene after WWE, and I avenged that loss. But yeah, it was Pat Buck.
Okay, so what has been some of the best advice that you have ever received in the business?
The best advice, I've gotten a lot of great advice, but I'd say the best advice I ever got was from current AEW coach Dean Malenko. And this was, before he had come to AEW, and I was 20 years old, and he told me not to do anything like my dad. He said, do everything like you, At the time, I had, kind of like dirty, like brown hair, and he said, dye your hair black, and don't do the elbow, and don't do any of his things, especially when you first start. And that was great advice because you get in the habit of almost playing tribute to somebody like Dusty or even somebody like my brother, and you're not doing a service and paying tribute to yourself. that was really good advice that Dean gave me. I never forgot it.
Okay, so at the time when you had asked for your release, did you ever think that all of this would have happened?
I don't think I could have thought that all of this would have happened, because it's just unprecedented where we're sitting with AEW and with everything that had just happened with Double or Nothing. I mean, it's been decades, and WWE has been the sole provider for pro wrestling, and now there's this alternative product, and to be at the helm of it and to share that responsibility with my friends and teammates, no, I definitely didn't have any idea this was what was going to come. I had a great feeling, but I didn't know it would be this great.
Well, like I said, it turned out amazing. Turned out great.
Yeah, I'm happy with the trajectory we're going in. You know, we're falling into the atmosphere and picking up speed. I'm very happy with it.
So, how did your relationship with the Young Bucks start?
So it was very simple. It started like a lot of things start today. You know, I saw the blue checks had followed me and a verified Twitter account, and I sent them a direct message just asking if I could put them on my list. You know, I wanted to really work anybody that I put on my list that I would post later on with all these opponents and things I wanted to do and bucket list items. And they were all about it. They were excited, and they were really good. They didn't know a lot about my career at WWE, and to be frank, I didn't know a great deal about their career outside of the fact that they had captured the audience's imagination so much that they had sold all this merch, and they had been talked about in the same heights as, you know, guys who had been on major television. So I knew that something was special about them, and I think they knew that about me. And when we met, we just hit it off, and it's simply not because of like-minded personalities. It's because we're very passionate about what we do. We're not pretend wrestlers. We want every show to be the very best show, every match to be the very best match. And you'd be surprised there's not that many guys like that in the industry.
Yeah, they're a great tag team. So after the success of All In, was it a no-brainer to move forward with your promotion?
Well, at first it was just the idea of, you know, it was a no-brainer that we do a sequel show. But again, like I was saying, I don't know how I could expect this to be, you know, where we're at with an entire promotion, and to have such capital behind the promotion and such confidence with a, you know, production crew helmed by Keith Mitchell, who used to be the executive producer for WCW, and he worked with my dad. So a lot of serendipity went into the idea of a brand new company. But if it wasn't going to happen as a company, we were definitely going to do a sequel show. We were definitely going to call it Double or Nothing. I mean, we knew that within hours of having, you know, close the doors on the Sears Center after All In.
So at Double or Nothing, you had an amazing match with your brother, and you announced that a tag team match with him against the Bucks. So is that going to be a one-time thing?
You know, I think I can't say yes or no, but I'd say I'd lean towards it being a one-time thing. Dustin and I are singles acts, but we definitely had a great, you know, we had a great time when we were a tag team for the time we were. And I think I'd like to feel that magic again. And, you know, I never know with Dustin if he's ready to retire, if he's not. Obviously, if you saw Double or Nothing, he has more than a full tank of gas. He has plenty of miles left to go. But I think for me, it's more of, yeah, it probably is a one-time thing, and that's why it's so unique and special for Jacksonville and for those coming to fight for the Fallen to see it, because I'd bet a whole lot you'll never see the Rhodes versus the Bucks again, win, lose, or draw.
Okay. Looking forward to that match. Gonna be
Thank
great.
you.
So,
Thank you.
So with the birth of AEW, there is a lot of new talent. So is there anyone that you would love to have a match with?
A lot of people. One of them I get the privilege of wrestling June 29th, that being Darby Allin. But outside of Darby, there's also Kip Sabian. I'd like to wrestle Sammy Guevara again. I'd like to wrestle Sonny Kiss, Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy. Any and all of those. I know as we prepare towards coming to TNT, a lot of those matches will become possible, and I'm excited about that.
Okay. So after seeing the AEW heavyweight title belt, it's a really beautiful belt. It's really nice. But did you have any say in the design of the belt?
Yeah, actually, Tony had wanted a really large belt, and he referenced the Mid-South North American Heavyweight Championship. And if you look that up, and the belt that, Bill Watts had, and Bill Watts was such a big, imposing figure, I was able to take that inspiration and turn it on its ear with this diamond-encrusted and plated AEW title that we have. Has some IWGP elements in it as well. It's the most beautiful belt I've ever seen, and I was glad that it came down to me, Matt, Nick, Kenny, and Tony deciding, and we all agreed on that one.
Okay, so who started the idea of AEW?
I think the very first idea of AEW was probably none of the Elite. It was an idea that Tony Khan, at a very young age, as a fan of the business, had in his head. But I don't think the idea of AEW became real until, it became apparent that our contracts were going to all be up around the same time. But I think Tony, who's been a lifelong fan of the industry, was thinking of having his own promotion and, his favorite dream matches and all that unfolding for him at an early age. But it probably was just that. It was a dream until, these things fell into place the way they did, where, the Elite, the guys in the Elite, Brandy, and decided, hey, we're going to go with you. We're going to put stock in your dream, and he put stock in us, and it was a really good match.
Okay, so after the big signing of Jon Moxley, is the door open for any other big names?
Well, of course. I think you always got to keep the door open, and you can't make it, personal feelings. You got to just look at things from a business standpoint, and you got to look at things from your fan base standpoint. Would the fans like to see this? And if the answer is yes, then you need to give it to them. Jon Moxley is, the truth doesn't need weight. There is not a bigger free agent. He was in a category all of his own. And to get him to be part of AEW under the circumstances we have, with the type of contract he has, man, it's definitely going to really be fully showcased when we get to TV on TNT and the power of Jon Moxley. But I was very happy to see him kind of unglue and unhinge himself, and yeah, it was special. The door is open for more.
Okay. So how excited were you for the TNT TV deal?
I'm incredibly excited for the TNT, the deal itself, Warner Media. I moved to Atlanta when I was a little kid to be here when, Turner Broadcasting, as it was called at that time, bought WCW. So it's just funny to say it out loud that wrestling is coming back to Turner, now with Warner Media and TNT. But excited, I don't even know what the word would be. I'm everything. I'm overwhelmed. I'm prepared. I'm excited. I'm scared. I'm hungry, and I'm surrounded by talent and infrastructure that are hungry too. I don't think people are going to know what hits them, even if they saw Double or Nothing. The idea that this alternative product is going to exist in the sport of pro wrestling, it makes a lot of fans happy.
Okay. So we're coming to the end of our little podcast here. But quick question: will AEW be holding any shows in Southern California?
Oh, I'll tell you a little. It's not a secret, but we do a little study on where the most tickets were bought for Double or Nothing, and we have to study on where the most tickets were bought for All In from last year, and no surprise, it was SoCal. So we will definitely be doing a show at SoCal, and there's actually some really good buildings that we could do really large events at, and myself and a few others of us are going to go out there and do a couple scout visits soon, but there's definitely a AEW show coming to SoCal and soon.
Okay. So speaking of SoCal, I'm sorry, give me a second here. I'm sorry. So speaking of SoCal, you were at Disneyland yesterday. Do you have?
Yeah, no, I went to Galaxy's Edge. It was unbelievable.
Really, the Star Wars? I love Star Wars. That seemed look really cool.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, and the reservation system they have is like kind of a soft opening, but Olga's Cantina, the Smuggler's Run, the Droid Depot. If you're a Star Wars fan, it's like a dream come true, obviously. But if you're not, it's still the coolest, most immersive things in the parks. The only thing that could compare to it is Diagon Alley at Universal in Orlando. And those are the only time I've seen this type of theming, but it was amazing. I can't wait till the Orlando counterpart is built.
Okay, so do you happen to have a favorite amusement park?
So for me, it's always been Universal Orlando. I love Islands of Adventure at Universal Orlando, but OG Universal Studios Orlando is my favorite. My favorite ride as a kid was Kongfrontation, and I used to just beg every time we'd visit my family in Tampa to drive to Orlando so I could go. So that would be my favorite, is Universal Studios Orlando, and then my second favorite would be Disneyland in Anaheim. That's my 1 and 2.
I love Universal Studios too. I've never been to the Orlando one, but have over here in California.
The Orlando one, like the OG, the original is obviously there in Hollywood with the studio tour and all that, but the Orlando one's grown so much and it has so many attractions now, and Diagon Alley being there, Potter fan or not, is it's worth a trip.
Yeah, I love Diagon Alley too. I'm a big Harry Potter fan.
There you go.
Okay, so we've come to the end of our little podcast here. Is there a way people can follow you on your social medias?
Yes. Social media is easy. It's at Cody Rhodes on Twitter, and then Instagram, it's at American Nightmare Cody.
Okay, Cody, thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast today.
Oh, thank you very, very much. I'm glad we got to finally do it.
Mm-hmm. It's been a while, but finally it's good and it was great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I will talk to you soon. Hopefully, see you soon.
You too. Thank you.
All righty.
You will. Bye.
Bye.